Hello everyone and welcome back to the Frozen Inferno. Today we are gonna go straight into it because we are on the clock. We still need 80,000 calories to complete Carnivore and we have 23 cycles left, which equates to about 3,500 calories per cycle, and isn't really a lot considering we have 8 dupes consuming 8,000 calories a cycle, right? Well, the problem is, we just don't have as much meat. So the problem isn't consuming the meat in the allotted time frame, the problem is sourcing the meat. And remember what I said about carnivore on this planetoid? And right over here is the sole reason why carnivore is not a problem anymore. Well, it would be easy, but I went about it wrong. Because what I did is I started hunting mammoths immediately and wanted to get carnivore going as soon as possible. However, by doing that, I decimated the mammoth count too quickly. I didn't give them the chance to lay eggs. Because out of the 4 or 5 mammoths we hunted, if all of them laid an egg before we converted them into meat, we would actually have 100,000 plus calories at our disposal now, since they would have laid eggs and we could have converted those mammoths again as well. So we have to come up with a way to generate enough meat for those remaining 23 cycles. And what we are going to do is we are going to build a couple more incubators to help us evolve the flux eggs a little bit more quickly. I'm also going to set up automation for them. And hopefully we can generate enough meat by doing this. Another thing we are going to do over here, we are actually going to build a microbe musher. And I know in the last episode I did say I wouldn't go into pemmican anymore. However, considering our position at the moment, we are going to for a very brief amount of time, those 20 remaining cycles, produce pemmican instead of barbecue. Because if you look at the data, you need 3,200 calories of meat and convert it into 4,000 calories of barbecue. On the contrary, you only need half as much meat and convert it into 2,600 calories, which means we squeeze out an extra 1,200 calories just by adding some tallow. And the tallow we can very easily source because we have some free-roaming spigots that we are not using at the moment. Now there's still plenty to go around, so we're not actually hunting those to extinction as well. But for the time being, they're going to supply us the necessary tallow. Now there's also all sorts of things we still need to catch up on. We need to finish the research. I've basically researched everything that we can at the moment. There's like 2 more researches that we need. So we're going to start with more kitchen equipment that we are not going to use for the time being. My dupes also racked up a couple of skill points. I guess, sure. Camille, you can complete your art degree. Let's do that. Pay. I mean, considering we don't really have a problem with morale, might as well give her data analysis research. That gives her more science, speeds things up again, because more research points means faster research as well. And Ruby will get improved carrying. It's just too good not to have. Right, then it's going to be time to get the spigots. We don't really need to get all of them, but I guess we could have a little bit of extra tallow lying around. Also have more printables coming along. I really would have enjoyed another shipment of barbecue, but I suppose a couple of sweet little eggs will do just fine. Right, then we're gonna speed this along a little bit. I have to keep in mind to set this to no longer produce any barbecue. 1,600 calories, that's actually exactly enough. Oh, we got a colony achievement right now. Hatch a new critter morph from an egg. I'm fairly sure that was not our doing, and it was one of the shine bugs that flies around up here. Yeah, there's a sun nymph. So, yep, that randomly can happen. Alright, so with those finished, we're basically just going to incubate whatever comes along. It also was pointed out to me in the comments like how I've set this up is, for instance, 40 seconds and then 560 to have a full 600 seconds in here, which equates to exactly the time it takes for one cycle to pass. The problem with this, as I've mentioned before, is the buff from hugging lasts a full cycle, and therefore the green duration will pass already. So basically my dupe will only hug the egg every other cycle. Now the solution that was pointed out to me in the comments is to set this up to 600 seconds, so the full timer. This means the buff will run out, and then we'll have an extra 40 seconds on top, during which the egg will get hugged every cycle. However, if you do it this way, you encounter another problem. That's basically only a problem if you only have one rancher, because since every 600 seconds, the timer is going to move 40 seconds further into a cycle. The timer is going to move throughout the day, and when it reaches this tile, my rancher is actually not going to be around to hug the egg because he has his downtime. And that's going to be 4 full slots where he's not going to, or basically 4 full cycles where he doesn't hug the egg. So what's better, every other cycle or 4 full cycles back to back where the egg doesn't get hugged? I would argue the 4 full cycles back to back is better, especially if you have a second rancher in a different schedule, then it's not going to be a problem whatsoever. But in our case, although it would probably be the better setup, I'm still going to go back to what we had previously with the 560 in this case, because I value consistency right now more than a dry spell of 4 cycles, if that makes any sense. Right, so to set this up correctly, we have to be a little bit careful. We'll probably set the green duration to 0 on all the others for the time being. Right, set this to 40 and 560 on the first one. So this would activate right now, which is useless because my rancher is going to go on his break soon. So we are going to wait with those timers until Hassan is off his break again. In the meantime though, we can set this up to produce pemmican forever. And we're probably also going to set this to accept tallow, just to have everything nice and centralized for my cook. Right, so Hassan woke up just then, which means we're going to set this to 40 seconds, in which, hang on, we're actually going to give this a priority 7. It already has one, so perfect on that end. So this should be the first task he's going for. Surprisingly enough, not. Oh, right, it's not powered. I'm actually gonna go ahead and reset the timer once more. There you go, he made up his mind. So now we are going to be off a little bit, because he's gonna head back, then he's gonna head back here again. That's only going to be for this first cycle though, because later on he might be anywhere around the base and then he needs the 40 seconds again. Right here we're going to, hang on, we're just gonna copy this over, make our lives a little bit easier, why not? Reset the timer. Oh, and don't forget plugging it in. And we have to hope Hassan is actually still in the area. My boy, where are you? You are supplying construction materials. That is very noble of you, but it is problematic on this timer front. We're just gonna ignore this. I got a really great showcase going on here. At least the one thing that works when timing it like this is you have all of them on this power line, and theoretically this power line would overload. However, since the timer sensors are spaced apart, it will never activate all 4 of them together. So it is never going to be an issue. Go like this again, a reset timer, and hook up the last one. So Project Fast Meat Evolution is a go. Now, if we don't have any other options, we might have to get rid of our last Behemoth as well, and then get one in the printing pod, because even, I mean, it's going to grow very, very soon, but even the Baminis give you the full calorie count of 24,200. Alright, and concerning the research, we have knocked out every single one. Well, except one. That's going to be the last one we are researching at the moment. And then we will have to go into the next stage, which is the applied science research. And for that we need to prepare some kind of radiation exposure in order to generate rads for us. I already have something in mind, I just don't know where we are going to place that yet. We're probably going to place that down in this area, and we can always get pips later, but we can't get carnivore later, so that's going to be the decision for now. We did end up planting the bonbon trees domestically anyway, which are still growing, by the way, if you were curious. Now, we don't have an insane amount of light. I kind of eyeballed it a little bit. I think we get 25% of the max production value, which is 20 per tree, so about 60 kilos per cycle. That's enough. That's enough for a start. This is going to be something that's going to run along in the back for the time being anyway. Right, applied science research. Let's get this done. And we don't have enough metal. Hold your horses, we need more metal. Alright, so basically how I like to do my early advanced science research is placing down a couple of farm tiles and using wheezeworts. Now I know it is stinky, that is not a good idea. Now I know it is not the most efficient and there's probably better ways of going about this, but I've come to enjoy this one. I haven't questioned it ever since. If anyone has a better idea, please let me know in the comments. I'm open to suggestions on this one. But we're basically placing down as many wheezeworts as we can get our hands on, set up a little bit of automation, and ooh, that reminds me, we also need to skill scrub one of our dupes, because I think it is stinky. Right. Please have a seat. We still are missing a little bit of refined metal, so for now we can't actually place down the material study terminal, but we're already on that. Tile this in, well, normally I'd do it with insulated tiles, but the base is cold anyway, so it doesn't really matter. I'm also not too worried about the radiation exposure. We might have to take a look at that later, if we need some radiation shielding or not. Right up there we're gonna place a storage bin. Now, setting this up in this way does pose the danger that my researcher is running across here just as the rat bolt is getting shot down. If that is the case, she's very unlucky and deserves it. No, if that is the case, we might have to close this off and have her come in from another direction. In here, we're gonna set this to, let's say, I don't want my dupes to only run this errand. 5,000 kilos of phosphorite, because that's what the wheezeworts need as fertilizer. Rat bolt generator, we're just going to make one out of granite. Now we're also going to connect this to an automation port, and I always get this wrong. This is the output port, this is the input port. That's important to get right. Now, for some reason, the material studies terminal is weird because it sends a green signal when it's full. So you always need a NOT gate. Basically, the rat bolt generator needs to do exactly the opposite. When it's full, it's going to turn off the rat bolt generator. And we're going to come in here and set this to wheezewort. And we're going to copy over the settings. Oh, right. And I completely forgot. I did rip out that battery up here and never bothered to replace it. We're going to have to do that as well. And with Stinky now scrubbed, we're going to put him into improved carrying all the way along to mechatronics engineering. How's the pemmican coming along? 7,000. That's perfect. Don't forget about the achievement. That would be bad. So let's not look at that. Okay, and since we are using wheezeworts to generate our rats, we obviously also want to grab as many of them as we possibly can. So basically the reason why I want an auto sweeper in here is because of the rad exposure. I don't want my duplicates to constantly come in here and basically get shocked with rats every time they deliver phosphorite. Basically, once all of this is built and the wheezeworts are planted, we can just lock this door and they're only going to deliver the phosphorite through here and don't actually go into this room. That's basically the whole idea behind this setup. Now there is a decent amount of rad exposure and I definitely do want to close the bottom half. Now at best you'd be using plastic tiles. Lead metal tiles would also be decent, but we have none of these, so we're just going to use igneous rock regular tiles. 3.6 rats, not great, not terrible. And with that now in place, we are straining this wire quite a lot. So what we are actually going to do is wire the incubators over. Because I don't want my rat bolt generator to lose power, because then it also loses all the generated rats in the process, and that would be quite bad. I mean, the potential load can't exceed 1000 anyway, because we are sitting, or we've set this up with a power transformer in the first place. It's just that one building is going to be depowered. There we go, 961, that's looking good. Okay, and while we have a little bit of downtime, I also want to come in here and basically demolish all of this area. There's still quite hot water sitting up here, and it's not really exchanging temperature too well with the surrounding area. So we're going to help out a little bit on that front. Now we are going to uncover some bleach stone and have chlorine off gas into the area again, but there's not much we can do about that. Then we also finally get this notification out of the way again. Because of the flooded gas pump over there. We are going to use this water pool as well, because this cool salt slush geyser over here is only active for another 6 cycles, so that's the only brine we have left, on top of the 5 tons in our liquid reservoir. So we probably have to use some of this warm salt water as well. Right, we also can't remove brine at the moment anymore, because we removed that bottle emptier. We do want to replace that, and also I want to issue a sweep command for this whole area too. Only at priority 4, as we did with the previous one, just as a gap filler if my dupes have some spare time. Ah yes, more meat. Yeah, 5200 calories in the bank again. Just need to keep it continuous now, from now on, then we don't run into trouble. Since we have the technology, we might as well use it. Down here we actually don't need it anymore, because we have finished our liquid tanks there. Next activity is in 60 cycles. Oh, that is a long downtime period. How far along are you? 62%, 22, 27. Well, you're just a baby. We might as well... That's unfortunate, but that's the only reason why we've powered the incubators right now. So right here we are going to plant a couple of pike apple bushes in order for us to have better control over how much food we produce. Now I could also let the fluxes eat directly from the bushes, but I do want to... Actually, we do have mechatronics engineers, so we can already set up a couple of auto sweepers here as well. Since I do want to automate this, I don't want to let them roam all the way over there, otherwise I'd have to include more automation. Now all this needs is to go over to our kitchen. Over or under, let's go like this. And right here. And then we also don't have to worry about the egg count inside of our ranch anymore. Now, pike apple bushes obviously need phosphorite as well, but since we are sitting on 47 tons just about, that's going to be plenty for now, and we can swap to a more sustainable build later down the line. And we got new printables again. I was thinking about let it be meat. However, a second rancher with a farming background and tidying on the side wouldn't say no to that. So welcome to the team, Ashkan. And now we are at the threshold that we have no schedules left anymore. So Ashkan is going... I don't want him in this schedule because otherwise he's going to sleep on the floor. I want him spaced apart with my other rancher, so we're going to put Ashkan over here. So we're going to set up another outhouse back here, and we actually build 2 and deconstruct the first one, and build a wash basin in front. Right, in terms of skills, as I mentioned, improved farming is going to be his forte. Actually, he's probably going to be a main farmer and a backup rancher, since we are getting into plants soon as well. We're going to go ahead and set the priorities like this. So he's going to be doing farming first, then ranching, then all the other tasks, and then building and digging. Okay, by now we also finished the analysis down here. Next activity in 14 cycles, that's great. Might as well sweep out the area so the dupes don't have to come in here later on. And that means we can go ahead and make our first material science research. I'm going to go ahead and do the same as most people in this position and research the steam turbine. Up here the automation finished as well, so we're going to set this up and select flux fawn egg. Same right there. They're gonna get transported down here and directly poured into the evolution chamber without any duplicate interaction anymore. Pemmican looks good. Our Sweetle hatched, so we want to take care of that one. More meat for the cause. 47,000 in 16 cycles. That is going to be about 3,000 per cycle. I think we are on track. Oh, look at that. There's a dormant cool slush geyser. Oh, it's not salt slush. It's actually polluted water, right? Cool slush geyser? Yeah, polluted water. We are drowning on this moonlet. Oxalite Sconce, best building addition ever. It's so great, you don't have to build oxygen diffusers anymore. Now granted, we couldn't even use those on this planet if we wanted to, but it's very convenient. Big thumbs up from me. We did run out of pemmican again, so it's time to take a look at our fluxes once more. Oh, you just reproduced. You're off the hook, you're off the hook. You're gonna be on the hook very soon. And there we go. We have the steam turbine research ready. Now, shockingly, I haven't prepared any plastic and steel yet. But that's just the nature of achievement runs, in my opinion. You're just so preoccupied with locavore, carnivore, and super sustainable that you are just slower than in a normal playthrough. That's how it goes. Might as well go into the glass forge already. That opens up a lot of possibilities as well in terms of ranching. Wink, wink. Alright, and over here we are going to be ready to unleash the waterfall. Let's see, how does the temperature look down here? Yeah, it definitely is going to warm up the area a little bit. Now this water could actually still get more because there's some brine ice sitting there. Now, debris exchanges temperature very, very slowly. So the best bet you have if you want to grab some quick brine ice water or water in general is to build temp shift plates out of that material. Okay, now we got a little bit of a pileup, but that's fine. It's going to equalize. There's quite a lot of pressure accumulating though. Sort of cut off the only area it could escape out of. Now for our metal refinery, we're gonna be a little bit cheeky, rip out the floor over here and replace it. Also, I don't want these tiles to be igneous rock anymore, they should be granite, but that's fine. Now this is a very temporary setup. However, we are going to connect this to some heavy watt wire, that way we don't have to worry about the hefty power draw of this machine. And what we are going to do is tap into the cooling loop of our SPOM and sort of just exchange the cooling liquid with this cooling loop. Because the brine is still coming in at almost -5 degrees Celsius, we are actually going to use liquid bridges. This has all to do with priority, because it's going to prioritize shipping over coolant into the refinery. And then this lane is going to be prioritized over this bridge once we disconnect this part. So now the coolant is a go. However, before we can continue, I'm getting ahead of myself yet again. We are going to crush eggshell to lime. I should have set this up much, much earlier. We do, however, also need refined carbon still. But that we're going to place down a kiln right there. Oh, right, we actually don't have any coal at the moment. But we can turn wood into refined carbon, which means we need to do this 5 times. Now this thing is going to get quite hot, so we're only going to do 5 and not endless on that one for now, because we don't have any cooling set up. Over here we almost drained all of the pool. It's gonna take a while, but eventually it's actually going to cool down. Now usually you want to keep your liquid separated, but water is actually not going to be an issue when piped into a desalinator. It's just going to pass through without causing pipe damage or wrong element damage. Why does this have an off-gassing animation? It is submerged. Oh, there's a little bit of brine. I think we accidentally created an infinite gas storage down there. And I think for the time being we are also going to leave this open and wait until this saltwater geyser enters its dormant phase before we include it in a liquid tank. This can sit here. It already dropped significantly in temperature. It was 40 degrees before, now it's only 30, so it seems to be quite effective, which means this can cool down further. Until then we use up all the brine in here, and this is going to be much cooler when we have to use it for this area over here. We have enough materials to produce 600 steel now. We're gonna set this to 6. We're coming in at minus 6.5. And going out at 63 degrees. That's going to heat up the machines a little bit. However, it's probably gonna be fine for 12 operations. Not too worried. Alright, and with our first batch of steel done, we're also gonna pin that. We're basically just going to have to wait until we have 1200. That is exactly the amount for the thermo aqua tuna, which we are going to use up here in our, well, industrial brick to be, in order to be able to produce steel more safely. The clock is still ticking on carnivore. Keep that in mind. There's 9 cycles left right now. Definitely cutting it close. And it's actually going to be the perfect timing right here as well, because as we are preparing for the industrial phase now, our bonbon trees are going to mature and produce the first nectar for us. Branch productivity. No, Steve. I completely forgot that was an auto setting when you place these domestically. We do not want to harvest those branches. That would be a waste of some good nectar. Now it was also pointed out to me in the comments, thank you for that the alveoveros actually don't consume any ice when they are not producing oxalate. So if they're not in carbon dioxide, they won't require any ice and you're not actually wasting any water. I did end up removing a lot of the plants down here because we just don't produce as much carbon dioxide yet. However, a really nice idea came up, and that was to plant alveoveros throughout the base to catch the carbon dioxide where it is produced, basically. I'm still gonna keep a few down here, just in case something is pooling up, because something like the wood heater, for instance, is still producing carbon dioxide. However, we're also going to plant it throughout the base, most likely. The saltwater geyser actually went dormant over here, so we're going to analyze it and also prepare our liquid tank for it. We'll probably make it about the same size as over here, so 84 tiles from the top. Now at some point we have to deal with this mix of water and mercury. It's probably a better idea to come in from the top though and not have it mix with all the other liquids we have down here already. Now as you can see, we did run out of fluxes and we only have 8 cycles left. So hopefully our eggs over here hatch rather quickly because time's ticking and I really don't want to get rid of my mammoth. And speaking of mammoth, we actually have 6 units of reed fiber. That means there's another warm coat for someone. Quite fitting that our masterwork stoop is making the warm coat. Warm coat is done. We're gonna hand it to Camille. I mean, she made it. Might as well be the beneficiary here. Ah, yes, and straight back to the harsh reality of life. Waiting for these eggs is like watching grass grow. Come on! 7 cycles! Up here we are going to prepare the steam chamber now. We don't have enough lime yet for the remaining steel, but we can already prep the liquid in here, and for that we are going to use probably a mixture of things. I'm thinking salt water combined either with a couple drops of water. Yeah, probably a couple drops of water sound good. So we're gonna go ahead and place down a liquid pump down here. Now I'm only going to use granite insulated pipes for this, because this is quite a temporary setup. We're also going to need some power. Now over here we are also going to uncover a little bit of this area, because the forest biome on this map holds aluminum ore, and that is very useful for radiant pipes. Basically dig out this part right here and snatch and grab a little bit of aluminum. We don't need terribly much, but a little bit will be fine. Now over here, as long as we still have access to enough metal, we are very minorly automating this farm as well, because this auto sweeper can just put the pike apples harvested by the dupes in here, and then it also gets carried down by the rail into our kitchen area. And the water is a go. It might heat up the area a little bit, not this though, because it's an insulated pipe and insulated tiles. But it's gonna cool down relatively quickly, because we don't actually need that much liquid in here. You can fill those steam chambers in two ways. Either you fill it up all the way until... So you basically fill these tiles completely, and then the second layer will start. Or you can fill these tiles a little bit, just enough to have enough thermal mass in there, and then put a second liquid on top. This way you can also get out all the gases. Now usually what ends up happening is those gases get overpressurized, and like here this carbon dioxide is actually not moving. It will move eventually once there's enough water in there, but we're also going to open up this tile, and this way all the gases can escape later on. And we actually got another flux. We'll definitely immediately convert that. Make sure Lyra is not sleeping on the job. Where are you going? Mafic Rock? How is that going to be important now? You got me worried there for a second, Lyra. Oh, come on! Wakey wakey, rise and shine. We only have 5 cycles left. Yay, we did it! We actually made it in time, with 6 cycles to spare. On this moonlet, it's actually much easier to complete Carnivore if you do it right. Just leave your Bamos for a couple of cycles. You don't have to start from the get-go, because the time is plenty. The problem is the amount of meat on the map. So if you leave your Bamos to lay at least 1 egg, it's smooth sailing from there. Well, I guess we made it interesting, but now with that out of the way, we have 2 of the big 3 done. Super Sustainable is still slogging along quite slowly. However, once we have our steam turbines in place and a little bit more power generation and also power draw really, this is going to be completed relatively quickly as well. Right, so with Carnivore out of the way, I'm still going to keep those incubators running for the time being, because, well, our farms look, or our ranches look dreadful. It's just a ghost town in there. So we do want to repopulate them rather quickly, and then we can revert to using non-powered incubators again. The power draw hasn't been too bad though, so we could just as well keep them running. Because we are still sitting on 20 kilos of hydrogen per tile in here, which means we are at maximum. However, our power demand is going to increase once this area is up and running, because we do need quite a lot of power in there. In order for that to complete, we do need a little bit more steel. We don't have the lime for it yet, and we haven't accessed any easy, or there's actually not any easy fossil accessible on the map. Now it is possible to just dig inside here from the side and tile it out. We might actually go ahead and do just that. Gonna place down a couple of insulated tiles there. Now you can use any tile you want. I'm using insulated ones because they are not going to exchange heat with the magma. Now we are going to destroy some magma, but that's a price I'm willing to pay. This fossil is incredibly hot. The worst thing that could happen is magma spilling out right now. Next up, we're gonna use this tile. Right, ladder tile, deconstruct, deconstruct, and there we go. You're scalding a little bit because that is obviously very hot. It's not gonna get overpowered by the area. Might as well sweep that really quickly and close it off again though, just so it doesn't bleed off too much heat into the environment. Also, we have to keep an eye on this up here. Yeah, this is already enough water, so we're going to cut the wire right there. Okay, up here we are sitting at 576-ish kilos of salt water. Now we're going to fill the rest with water. Enable auto bottle. Also, our bonbon trees are in full bloom now, and they are producing... this one's actually producing a little bit more, but they are producing around 20 kilos per cycle, and we've already accrued 380 kilos, which means very temporarily we can go ahead and just place down a plastic or a polymer press out in the open. Just let it vent the carbon dioxide into the area. That's not really my concern. Here comes the nectar. Now for our first build, we are only going to need 200 kilos of plastic. And then we are going to store the remaining nectar in our liquid reservoir, because we do want to use it as a coolant for this area. Nectar is quite suitable as a coolant because it only evaporates at 160 degrees and you can chill it down to minus 82.5 degrees before it freezes. And it has a very similar specific heat capacity and thermal conductivity to water, so it's absolutely brilliant as an early coolant. Next to none, really. With the polymer press now installed, we're just going to go ahead and hook it up. Now the steam it emits into the environment will most likely instantly freeze. It might get a little bit hot because polymer presses generate a lot of heat. However, it's not going to be running for too long. And there's... wait, mirth leaf? There we go. There's our first 30 kilos of plastic. Clear new right here and tag plastic on. Oh, and we got aluminum ore as well. Very good timing. Once the dupes are done in this area, we can use that to make radiant liquid pipes. Also, here comes the water. So it actually has compressed the oxygen in this area. That's gonna be enough already. So in order to get out the last bit, we are going to deconstruct it right here. And in preparation for the other steam turbines, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm going to place down these right here. Now, usually I place them down with liquid bridges as to not disrupt the cooling loop. And there goes the last bit of gas. Perfect. I'll sweep out the rest. Replace those tiles. Can't close this off just yet because the aqua tuner still needs to go inside, and for that we still need some steel. And that's gonna be all for this episode. With carnivore out of the way and the first plastic and steel in our pocket, we can pick up the pace now and dive into new projects. Once we finish our industrial brick, we can start taming volcanoes and get into the good stuff, so stay tuned. As always, thank you very much for watching, and until the next one. Bye!